For those who are a part of Awaken Ministries, this is a video where I am going to make some application to what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 24 about watching and praying. We are called to watch the signs and to know and understand what is happening. So, this is just an outline to describe some of the signs. This is not an outline about any medical issue or concern that might be in the federal level or at the world level. This is about signs that we are to watch. And these signs right now involve mandates. But the purpose of this is not to say that an individual has to believe one way or the other. Many times when there are signs, there might be some things happening that we can look at and say, yeah, that needs to happen. Yeah, I agree with that, or no, I don't agree with that. But that doesn't mean that that is this in and of itself is the sign or that we're supposed to believe any particular way about it, because we have a individual conscience between us and God. So under mandates, right now what we have federal mandates. And I want to point something out about the federal mandates that are going on. First, the president has said some very specific things, President of the United States. And those are federal mandates that a president can do. And we've had many world leaders in other countries who have done something similar. And then we have some interesting things that have occurred in Congress. And those things happened several months after the president did his order for the federal mandates, okay? And they're not even on the same issue that the president has his mandates on. So we want to come back and talk about that as we go through this outline. So then there's another level with at the federal level, and that is through the Supreme Court. And that, to my knowledge, has not happened yet. So then we have changes on the state level. On the state level, there are several states who have, through their Supreme Court and or their governor, issued their own mandates against the president's mandates. Depending on what state a person lives, that kind of can be viewed by some as a positive thing or a negative thing, or at least confusing. So we have some differences between the president's federal mandates and the state mandates in some states. But then there are other states that they are becoming even more restrictive with siding with the orders from the president. And so there's some differences in how each state is responding to the federal mandates from the president. And that has kind of put a temporary halt on some of the president's federal mandates, or at least it appears that way. Let's go to systems. Systems is interesting. The systems regarding mandates involve both medical, mental health, school, and I could put a whole long list of other systems here, but I just wanted to comment on the three systems that I put on this outline, okay? These systems have been making mandates that are supportive of the federal mandates from the president, but even taking other issues related to this, or seemingly related, and they have made system-wide changes. What is not apparent to the public is that when you research it out, these systems have been making changes for the last 15 years, maybe longer. And so the only way you're going to find out about this is to kind of research it out a bit in the area you live and as you intersect with those systems. So the systems that are involving medical or mental health or school or any number of other systems in your community, they already have in place many things that are reinforcing the federal mandates and even going beyond that. And so regardless of whether the federal mandates remain in place or not, we have these systems mandates. Okay? So then number 4, when you go to the court system, as stated under number 2 with state, we have several court systems in some of the states that have gone to their state Supreme Court and put a halt on the federal mandates. So, and then as stated in number 2 under state, we have several states that have gotten even more restrictive. So that's interesting. So as we watch and pray, we need to come back to reading Matthew 24 and the signs that Jesus said we should watch, and then sort out the personal application. Well, we have to sort out, what do we believe about the mandates anyway, right? And we have to follow our conscience on that between us and God. And then we have to think, how do I believe I should treat other people, whether I agree with them or not? Because Jesus calls us to love each other. And among Jesus's 12 disciples, there were people who vastly disagreed with each other if they had gotten into a political discussion. Simon the Zealot and Matthew the Publican were at opposite ends. So those are just 2 examples. Okay. So we have to make personal application, and hopefully those who are watching this are already making personal application. And by personal application, the most important part is our spiritual application between us and God, making our heart right, making sure our heart is right, covered by Jesus' sacrifice for us on the cross, covered by Calvary, covered by his righteousness, making sure we're committed to him. So then I want to go down to before coming, well, I'll go to 6. Under protests, notice that there are protests both in the country and all over the world about the mandates and about some similar other issues that are valid issues, you know, so valid issues in terms of like the climate and concerns about the environment and stuff like that, right? But that adds more things to this whole mix, right? And so we see that happening. And now an interesting thing is that during this whole time that the president made the mandates, Congress could not come to an agreement on the spending bill that the president was wanting and that other people were recommending. And now all of a sudden in the last week, they have come to an agreement. So when we're watching the signs, it's not that the agreement is a good agreement or a bad agreement. It's that they came to an agreement. When we see politicians who are using health issues or environmental issues or any other kind of issue to polarize on either side of saying who they agree with and who they don't, and this side's bad and this side's good, and pointing darts. That's one difficult issue that we have to sort out as Christians, as we sort out what truth is, because God's not a Republican and he's not a Democrat. I hope you know that. So we're trying to sort that out. But then when they come to an agreement, we need to pay attention, because there is a uniting of the forces. And that may be a good thing in the short run, but that's something we need to watch and pray about and be aware about the issues. And then the next one would be, we haven't seen the Supreme Court Act, but that's another player in this whole piece. As we're moving in the world and in the U.S. Towards fulfillment of Bible prophecy. So having said that, I'm going to close with prayer that this will be heard in the correct way that it's intended. Thank you.